2 years ago, 6 strangers came together through a love of Critical Role. It was supposed to be a short adventure, with 5 characters from across Taldore and beyond. Now, 120 plus hours and 40 plus games later, we're still here. But that's a lot to catch up on, so let's get you up to speed. The campaign so far, with the party known as the Small, Terrible, and a Dragonborn Party. The sands of Marquette hold secrets, and the Crystal Chateau of Ancarel was looking for adventurers to recover an obsidian relic from a tomb. The ones who eventually answered were
Hazel Sheepsheart, a halfling blood hunter from the Pouchwood Forest who has been alone for some time.
Elisha Seaskipper, a gnome wizard from Wildmount who seeks her parents.
Jorenn Bronzegrip, a dwarven cleric of the Allhammer from Craghammer, now in exile.
Torkel Blackfurnace, a dwarven gunslinger from Craghammer, looking for adventure.
Naraxus, a dragonborn warlock from Draconia, bound in pact with Zariel and wanting to reclaim a home for his people.
While in the city, the newly formed party encountered a young dwarven woman named Leora, a student at the chateau. She pled with them to find her mentor and chateau instructor, the half-orc wizard Ation, who had gone missing in the desert, searching for history near the tomb. Now, with 2 quests, the party rented a camel named Hubert and headed out. Yes, the camel is named Hubert. Well, trust me, we'll get to that in a minute. The Tomb of the Zealot, their destination, was home to traps, enemies, and lots of empty books, which made Alicia very happy. Eventually, they found Ation, trapped by a strange jack-o'-were creature and a rainbow metal construct called a death scarab. After the battle, Ation came back with them to the city and to Leora. The obsidian relic was returned, gold was paid, but if the story ended here, it would be boring. Because Hubert, the camel, was not just a camel.
Never trust the camel.
Even though it's said to initially?
Turns out, that's a bad idea. So, are all camels not camels?
No. Yes. Maybe?
He was, in fact, a tiefling named Terrax, a member of the Arcana Pansophical. Tasked with tracking down abuses of magic, he was led to Marquette and a strange rise of cult activity, and the reappearance of Yuan Ti. Terrax suspected other hands at play, and urged the party to find him in Singorn. And Singorn is where the story takes its first turns. Terrax has a fantastical story for the party, of a fragment of lost history he learned in the Memory Ward. Few are given such a gift, and what he learned rocked him to his core. A glimpse of a godly figure wrapped in a massive silver oak tree, and he learned a name and a location: Sylvanas and the Fae World. So off to the Fae World he went. There he learned of a curse over many of the beings on that plane, a dark force rising, and it all tied to the rise of strange magics on the material plane. He asked the party to visit the Memory Ward and try to discover information on their own before heading to the Fae World. Now, the Memory Ward is as ancient as Singorn itself, and while there, Alicia was hit by a memory. Just a fragment, but she got the name Vogon and an image of a spellbook bound in dark blue leather. Now, it's a proper adventure.
But first, to get to the Feywild, they needed to do a favor for the head of the underground black market in Singorn, who promised to lead them through the sewer tunnels to a hidden entrance to the Feywild. A search for a missing halfling in the village of Timor Falls leads the party into the den of a necromancer and to a lake full of souls, forcibly stripped from their owners. The party finds a journal and evidence linking the necromancer Fabiana de la Crane to the Witch Queen. This is also the birth of Dwarf Jesus, aka Ulrin. In a flash of light, the divine intervention of the Allhammer gave Ulrin a gift, and he sent the trapped souls to their final rest. The party discovered links between the necromancer and a woman in a dark green cloak on a ship commandeered by the undead, another threat to track down, but first, off to the Fae World. Sewer tunnels and their promised guide lead them to an entrance, but it's guarded by pixies who warn them that their brethren just beyond have gone feral and wild. What they find past the entrance to the Fae World is another world. Bright, bold foliage, strange creatures lurking in the deep green leaves of the jungle, and a massive tree where the feral pixies hold court. A battle to prove the party's worthiness takes place, but instead of siding with the pixies, the party frees an enslaved Merit, who immediately slaughters her captors. The Merit Yama offers them safety in her glade and tells them of a danger lurking in the forest, something dark and angry. Her claim is backed up by Ardigan, an oddly friendly Fae being who warns them that ahead lies certain death. Its name is Olidamara, and he's the disinherited son of the previous Lord of the Wild, Sylvanos. Olidamara has come into possession of an ancient relic, the Gaia's Sash, and it has heightened his powers. They've always said the Fae World is beautiful but deadly, and this proves to be the case when the party finds themselves invited to Olidamara's wild hunt. He and his minions chase the party through the jungle, and at the end, the Lord of the Hunt awaits them at the base of the tree that houses the remaining piece of Sylvanas' spirit. It's a brutal fight, but in the end Hazel gets the final blow. The Gaia Sash is now in their possession, and Sylvanas' essence fades away from this world. An old god has died, and the party has no idea what this means. But a change is headed their way. Torkel, the dwarven gunslinger, is confused and frightened by this talk of old gods, and wonders if he'd be better off at home in Whitestone. He asks his cousin Volka if he'd like to travel with the party in his stead. Volka Black Furnace, or Thunderstorm Wall as he's known on the tour circuit, is a famous bard and member of the Barnacle Bards, whom the party had previously met. He becomes their new member, and Torkel heads back to Whitestone. The party and Terrax take the Gaia Sash to Yorick, head of the Arcana Pansophical. A ritual is to be performed that should reveal any hidden nature or abilities of the object. And so, the party sets off for Iman, and some well-deserved downtime. Time to party and find all the sugar.
No, we have a job to do.
We can do that, and find all the sugar.
For 1 week, the party splits up to take care of personal items and missions. Once they reconvene, they discover that they've all been followed by a mysterious figure in black leather. That same figure finds them at the opening ceremony of the Dragon's Defeat Festival and asks to meet in a tavern nearby. During this time, Jorenn discovers the function of a strange runestone the party unearthed in the tombs below the necromancer's estate. It leads to a shop in the Pocket Plain called Tabernacle's Global Emporium, and it is run by a gnome woman named Ellie.
It also has a gnome in a box. It's weird.
Very strange. I'm not sure I like it.
Yeah, she did say that that's her dad in the box. He's the greeter to Tabernacle's Global Emporium. It's weird. It's really, really weird. Also weird, the little purple guy who keeps showing up, especially whenever Volkar is playing, like during the Bard competition during the Dragon's Defeat Festival. And yeah, this little guy, no face visible in his deep plum robes, only makes the party suspect they've had a brush with another something, or someone, perhaps. But let's go back to that mysterious leather-clad person. Her name is Mizray, and she's a drow.
And a blood hunter like me, but way more powerful.
Mizray had heard that the Shadewatch of Jorenn Village attacked the party on the road after they retrieved Fabiana Delacrane's journal. She has a personal vendetta against the Shadewatch and their leader, Arhana. She asks the party to assist and gives them a dagger made of rainbow metal she took off her attackers. It's the same metal they found on the Death Scarab that attacked them in the tomb of the Zealot.
It's all connected.
Jorenn Village is a mess. Farms desolated, villagers leaving, and those who have stayed fear going out at night. The party discovers a dark power has risen in the village, and it seems to have some sway over Arhana's mind. Was it the sword she was desperately seeking in the mountains, sending soldier after soldier to their death? Or was it something else?
Or she's just evil.
I'm voting for evil. Anyways, the fight to return control of Jorenn to its citizens was more complicated than just rooting out a bad leader. Arhana's control was through fear and her utilization of ruthless lieutenants and plenty of Shadewatch soldiers. No one in the party was going to stand by while innocents were being used, because they're heroes. They had assistance with the fight to reclaim the village from the villagers themselves, and the leader of the daytime Shadewatch, an elven paladin named Corfel. As the assault raged on in the village, the party found Arhana's headquarters, infiltrated its depths, and found the sorcerer begging with her patron, which seemed to be corrupting her. When the battle was over, the party met back up with Corfel and his soldiers. They were victorious, and while lives were lost and buildings were set on fire, the village stands, and the party is seen as the heroes of the hour. Before Corfel leaves, he hands Naraxis a black horn and mentions that it could be used against the entity in the mountain. He also gives him a small symbol of the Strife Emperor, stating it can be used to get in touch with him.
We made friends with an evil paladin. It was pretty dope.
Let's also not forget Hazel took basement drugs and saw Dragon over the mountains.
I believe you took those drugs too, Alicia. You and Naraxis. And what happened then?
I believe you're forgetting something. The temple, Tempest, my wings.
Basement drugs aside, let's continue our story with the Altar of Tempest.